Hi guys, this is my kitchen, humble kitchen, very humble kitchen. If you look closely at the oven, it's particularly in bad shape. There's a rubber seal here that's come totally loose. It's an old bedroom. The top doesn't even work. The exhaust area, the light doesn't go on. There's no power to it anymore, so it's totally died. So definitely need to get this replaced. It's another job that I have on the agenda. I've got myself a comfy couch, I've got a nice sideboard, and I've got myself the big ass TV. So I've done a few things since I've come back. I also keep buying myself Galician mussels in Galician sauce. This is actually the Woolworths variety. They weren't available at Woolworths for some time, but Woolworths have finally come into line with Coles, and I've got the same stock. I mean, they're a duopoly. They're basically, it looks like collusion to me. They tend to collude on prices and other things, so in effect, I think that's the case. When I went to Woolworths today to buy the Galician, the mussels in Galician sauce, the guy serving me actually was wearing gloves like they wear at when they're serving food. So the paranoia stepped in to the extent that he actually told a customer to stand back, like you're in immigration and waiting to go and see an immigration officer. The same sort of deal. He was cautioning a customer to hold back and not come up to where the other people are being served. So yeah, there's obviously a level of paranoia there. And the other thing I noticed, which I didn't expect, was there were more shelves empty today than I've ever seen before. Now, I thought this would all be quietening down at this stage, but no, apparently not. Look, I'm in the process of making some spaghetti. I basically, what I do occasionally, I have a tomato sauce, but this time I'm just going to have the basic one, which is what I do is boil up the spaghetti. It's El Cheapo spaghetti I get at Woolworths, the home brand. I think that's fine. I don't like the Coles home brand much. It's very thin spaghetti, extremely thin. So I'm not really impressed with that. I prefer the Woolworths variety, which is a bit thicker. But you know, each to their own. So I just put this. The top still works. That's fine. So I'll put that up top. Put a bit of salt in there. Stir that in, and here's the El Cheapo pasta, the Woolworths variety pasta. It's only about 69 cents a pack. I don't know how they do it. It's probably toxic, but you know, what the hell. But yeah, like I said, the experience of shopping at Woolworths today was a bit different, and things are getting worse. And what concerns me mainly is that the government's reaction to the crisis, which probably isn't as big a crisis as people are making out, but the press has gone berserk, is going to make it worse than the actual virus itself. People are going to lose their jobs. People have lost their jobs. I watched online a Sky News feed online, and they had a queue of people in Melbourne going around the block. They were all registering at Centrelink because lots of casuals are losing their jobs. They closed the pub. I can't go to PJ O'Brien. All the other pubs are closed in town now. It was dead beforehand now. Totally dead. And then restaurants are closing. It's horrendous. There's so much employment, casual employment. People who really do need that money are losing their jobs. And I don't think that the government can continue this process on for more than a month or two. I think they're going to have to relent, because I think that's hopefully what will only be required, because the whole point is to not have a huge number of people with coronaviruses swamping the health system. And I understand that. I'm not against them having these social exclusion edicts. I think it's fair enough. We shouldn't be mixing with so many people, and not that I do anyway, but I just had to get out of the house today. I actually would have done a walk and talk, but the battery on my GoPro died on me, and I think it's pretty well at the end of its life. I mean, I've had it for about 6-8 years or something, I think. And I use it virtually every day, so you know, I've really flogged it. Well, cheapo red wine, very nice. Quite sweet, but it's okay. Now, with the pasta, when I just do basic pasta with my cover, what I do is I saute it in olive oil in the pan once I've actually cooked the pasta, and then I put Parmesan cheese on top. A crap load of Parmesan cheese. I love the stuff. I'm an absolute addict. Well, I'm an addict with this as well. I had these last night, another can of that. It's $3. It's not too bad. The standard price at Coles is $4 for the Galician sauce mussels, but they do have them on special at $3. And that's the John West variety. It's not bad, but these ones are quite acceptable. I've had it a few times and they're tasty enough. I don't have a problem having those. So I don't think they're inferior, but yeah, this corona thing is, look, I'm not saying it's easy for the government. It's not easy for anybody because we don't want a whole lot of people bedridden. But the thing is, the ones that are in danger with how we currently know it, and I mean, it's a moving target, but at the moment, it's the people who are younger are the ones the least worries with the disease. It affects the elderly more. People like, I'm in a high risk because I've got respiratory issues, and I'm 65, as I've said before. And I've got to watch out. But I'm not in the highest risk. I think the death rate in my cohort would be maybe 1 or 2%. For the age, it would be 1%, but then you add the respiratory thing, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 5%, but it's not huge. I mean, you don't want to go overboard on this, but I think the government can easily overreact to this and cause more economic damage than what the damage of the virus. I really believe it's something we have to be very careful with. We don't want to overreact because, you know, we are a bit of a snowflake society. If we have any threat at all, we tend to overreact these days. These people in a younger generation than me have never experienced a recession. They don't know what that is. It was quite normal as part of the economic cycle, but nowadays they've been cushioned from it. And I think they've been cushioned in a bad way because the government was paranoid about having any sort of recession. And I think they're wrong because it's a cleansing exercise. It's tough, but we're so pain averse in our society now that we can't accept the fact that we need bad economic times for badly run companies and organisations to be basically culled out. It is a cleansing exercise too. It leads to greater efficiencies long term. I mean, it's a harsh way of looking at it because people lose their jobs, but people are always losing their jobs. It's just that's part of the system we have. You could have a system where everybody's got employment forever, but they won't have innovations. You won't have a person like Elon Musk being encouraged to make major innovations which makes life better for all of us. So, yeah, there's an old adage that basically the richest person in the 19th century hasn't got the standard of living of some of the poorest people now in the West because so much technology is now available to make life easier. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So we're very lucky, and we're getting a little too soft, I think. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to have a reality check, just to toughen us up a bit. I'm not talking about major privations, and some people are doing it really tough, and some people have no savings. They have no option no way of exploiting a situation like this. Well, at the moment, I'm trying to exploit it by buying some cheaper shares. I got the cheapest Combank shares I've ever had today. I got them at $54.10 and $54.10. And that's the cheapest I've ever got them at. It was only slightly above what their low point for the day was, so I did all right today. And I also got GrainCorp quite cheap, so I'm taking advantage of this. But I don't know whether the market's going to be even worse tomorrow. That's the thing. People are really worried at the moment. I think the government will be forced to rescind some of these restrictions on the social exclusions that we're having, the quarantining ourselves. I think I understand why they're doing it. I'm not against it, but I think it has to be short term, and maybe they at some stage are going to have to point out a time frame so we can get back to business. And that shouldn't be more than a couple of months, in my opinion, unless something totally unforeseen occurs. I'm not a medico, it's just my gut feeling on this, but I think that governments are very easily scared these days, and they don't want to look as though they have no compassion. Because remember, someone like especially Scott Morrison was accused of having no compassion. He was seen to be going to Hawaii for holidays when we had those bushfire problems. God, we've had a lot of crap to put up with over the last few months. I mean, it's been pretty horrendous. So, just put a little bit in the pasta in here. It's quite thin, but it thickens up more than the coals. Well, that's quite a bit actually. Quite a bit too much in there, but that's okay. And what I also do is I make a base of spinach on the plate and put the pasta over the spinach, which I've sautéed with the garlic. So it's a reasonably healthy meal because I've got using the olive oil as well. So extra virgin olive oil. There you go. So pretty easy meal to make. Good bachelor meal. Yeah, I mean, for a bachelor, I've got a pretty healthy diet actually, I think, overall. Anyway, I wanted to just say a few things. I feel it's much easier for me to do a walk and talk, just feels more natural, but I just decided to put the tripod up. Hopefully I'm in frame. I've given it a fairly wide look, and you can just get a squeeze of what I do, my boring life making dinner. I also saw a movie last night, which is only released about 3 weeks ago, called The Invisible Man, and that had the woman. I knew this mate. The protagonist is an actress. I knew her face. I think, where do I know her from? And I couldn't work it out. I had to go on the Internet Movie Database, and it was Peggy from Mad Men. I don't know if any of you watch Mad Men, but she was the one of the first female copywriters in the States in this fictional show set in New York. And so she was a trailblazing copywriter working for the agency that Don Draper is working for. And Don Draper's in real life is a bit of a dropkick in my opinion. He's one of these typical feminist sympathisers. And it's a Hollywood thing. They all have to be politically correct now. They have to say the right thing. You know, they want their career is so precious to them that they've got these crazy extreme ideas. And this is a fairly feminist type film in that it's a woman being stalked by, well, I don't want to give away the plot, but it's basically a horror film, and she's being chased by a guy, and she's in a psychologically abusive relationship. I don't think it's physically abusive, but this guy won't let go. It's that sort of thing, and she has to escape him. And it's got a sci-fi twist to it as well. So, but you know, it doesn't have females fighting each other tooth and nail and being warrior princesses like in The Hunt, but it's still pretty well a feminist type film, and that's the way Hollywood's going. And I think some of the studios are finally working out that that's not the way to make money. We have to, pitch to a broader audience rather than a university type audience, which is what's happened. So anyway, that's what's happening. But yeah, this is going down rather well, and I just started watching a Netflix show, 6-part one called the English Game, and it's about the genesis of soccer. And apparently, soccer started off as a game played by the Toffs, by the Etonians and Harrows and all these upper class British public schools, private schools that is. And this is the story about how working class guys from Manchester, I think makes sense because Manchester United, have infiltrated the FA Cup, which had been dominated by private schoolboys. So it's sort of like rugby union, I guess, in the context of rugby as opposed to rugby league, which is more a working class sport. Soccer was originally like rugby union. It was an upper class pursuit. So yeah, I watched it. I think it's quite interesting. I've only watched the first episode, but I think it's quite good. So that's definitely worth watching. And Yes, I've got a few things there that are worth checking out. So, and considering that we're all socially isolated now, it's good to have a lot of material on disk. Essential to keep your mental faculties together, because that's the other problem with all this, is that depression and loneliness could be the side effects as well. It could be a major mental health backlash from these policies. People are naturally social animals, so the government has to be very careful about this on two fronts: the economic front and also on a personal psychological front. And as I say, the actual effects of the virus itself may be coming in low priority-wise compared to these other problems. So, just something to think about. It's the world's complicated. As Tim Pool always says, it's complicated. It's one of his favourite phrases. Anyway, I'll get on with my cooking, and hopefully, I don't know if I'll have time to put this on tonight. I might have to leave it till tomorrow. So sorry about the 2-day gap, but I might do this again. It's sort of like a half-assed walk and talk, because I'm sort of a little bit of walking, a little bit of talking, but only in the confines of my desperately requiring renovation kitchen. So see you later. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.